What's up, numbers? Welcome back to another film review from Hyper Rabbit Power Go. We're doing a spoiler. That's right. These are spoilers, motherfucker. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. If you want to see the non-spoiler review, we'll link it down in the description or check it out on our page. If you have not seen this movie yet, you probably shouldn't watch a spoiler review.
You will die.
You will die. So now that you know that, let's get into Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, the concluding episode of this trilogy, the second trilogy, and also the entire Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a difficult movie to talk non-spoilers because the things that I have issue with, aside from the actual pacing, is very plot heavy and plot related. And to me, it was like, man, this was really hard to talk about. So I don't know.
The floor is yours.
Okay.
Speak your truth.
First thing on what is the first thing on your mind? What is the thorn in your side?
1 word, 3 syllables. Go.
What is the thorn in your side, Adam?
Come on.
Palpatine.
That's what I'm talking about.
So the biggest thing for me going into the movie, and I had no clue what none of us knew what the opening crawl was going to be.
Yeah.
But the second the opening crawl starts, and the big descriptive thing is like the voices from the dead have returned, Palpatine is around. And I thought, oh, okay, we're jumping into this movie with Palpatine's essence already being sprinkled into this movie. I thought that we were going to sort of start the movie, start slow, and then build towards that. That they're going to
Characters were going to learn.
They're going to learn, make a discovery.
Oh my God, it's Palpatine.
Exactly.
He's on the
Learn,
phone right now.
make a discovery, and that's how I thought was going to help sort of like move and motivate the movie forward.
Scene 1.
No, scene 1. Kylo Ren goes to I forget the name of the planet. X something.
Hell.
He goes
it's
Palpatine
the Jedi
Hell.
planet. Or it's the Sith
The
planet.
Sith planet, basically. He goes there, and it's like initial confrontation. It's Kylo Ren and Palpatine.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat, and it's like, bring me the girl or kill the girl. Do whatever you have to do.
Shows his zombie hands.
Yes.
He's in some sort of decay.
Which they do. They never. I assume, and I could be wrong, that this is the Palpatine who was around in Return of the Jedi, who fell through the shaft, who was destroyed. So we thought, not a clone, not some sort of like.
But they did talk about cloning technology.
They do.
did.
It's offhandedly. It's like an offhand comment made by Dominic Monaghan's character.
Because I took that also to be all of the people that were cutting right to the end of the movie, all of the characters or whatever that were in the stands at that big arena, underground, temple arena. I assumed were also all clones of I thought it was like an Agent Smith situation where he had like populated a whole thing to be like, it's Palpatine. Like so many. They were all chanting and they were all chanting. I feel like the movie is kind of doing both to play it safe, to be like, oh, it is Palpatine. And if like Star Wars nerds go, actually, there's no way that he could have survived the blast of the Death Star too, as we know, then they could be like, well, then it's a clone. Like it's just like, shut up. This is what we're doing, is what it is. And they found the sort of way to explain it.
And then very early, in that same scene establishing, I'm the voice who's been motivated.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
I made Snoke.
Yeah, I made Snoke.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he's also been saying the voice of Vader, and I'm the one influencing your thoughts.
You also see a container full of Snokes.
Yes.
So there's
failed
2 or
experiments.
3 of
making
them.
them. Which I thought was cool. Which here's the deal. That would be cooler if, like a lot of things in this movie, there were more of a seed planted in episode 7 or 8. Right. The fact that everybody was so bent on, well, who is Snoke? Where did he come from? How did the First Order rise up in 30 years? Well, is Snoke like the mentee of Palpatine? Like, well, who's Snoke? Who's Snoke? That all that buildup that J.J. Abrams was doing in The Force Awakens and making you think what's important, and then Rian Johnson's like, get rid of him. Yeah. Which I fucking love.
We don't need another Emperor character.
Thank you. Let's focus on Kylo Ren. Let's focus on Rey. And that's what The Last Jedi did. I would be down with, like, if there was a line or, again, a character like Dominic Monaghan in episode 8 to go like, well, it could have been a clone. Could have been, like, to just some kind of a seed plant. So that when we get to this one, for it to go, see, that's what a lot of people already thought. And that's what a lot of people already thought. Cool that they solidified it. But it feels like a lot of that stuff, Palpatine, cloning, comes up out of nowhere.
It does
out
come
of
it
nowhere.
Does, well, okay, so
But not out of nowhere if you were watching all 9 of them at once. You go, yeah, he's the bad guy.
I just got finished with Rebels, and
Yeah.
what's his name comes back? Darth Maul comes
Darth
back,
Maul.
right? But it's not a clone. It's just
It's him.
It's him. It's just the evolution of him, basically.
And that's what makes that moment in Solo cool. If you're watching
If you're
Clone Wars
watching,
and
right.
Rebels.
But if you're not, this is
People
just
are going,
thrown in there.
where's
like,
Darth Maul coming
okay.
from? I thought he died in 1999.
Episode 1,
yeah.
Right.
So
I personally don't think he's a clone. Only because he's hooked up to that giant machine.
Yeah, it's keeping him alive.
He's kind of rotting away.
His hands are messed up. Yeah.
It looks like it's his life support.
He looks
system,
15 kinds of fucked up. is
He's
what you're
blind.
Yeah, he's
maybe,
blind.
like-
There's nothing there.
Yeah, I agree.
But what's the biggest thing that bugs you about Palpatine, Adam?
Me? I was on board. I was in the movie. I was into it. I was like, we're going, we're moving. This movie is fucking fast paced. And then Kylo Ren says, Palpatine is your grandfather. And I went, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I'm checked out.
Yeah.
My big
frustration.
big thing with these Star Wars movies, and I know people are going to say, well, it's been like that since episode 1. It's all connected. Everything's connected. Everything's
There's
connected.
one family in this universe.
And
That's
they're the
it.
most important ones.
Yeah.
The connection for me was Ben Solo.
Yeah.
That's my connection to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter that he's the villain.
Right.
That's fine. Not every Skywalker needs to be the hero. I find it interesting when they end up being the villain, and maybe there's a redemptive story for that character.
Right, yep.
That doesn't mean I don't love Luke. I love Luke because what Luke does and his influence brings his father back to the good side. That's why I love Luke.
Right.
And because he ends up becoming one of the most powerful characters, and it's not necessarily because he's the best fighter, the
Right.
best force
the
user.
hardest. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got the heart, he's got the soul, and he reinvigorates that in his father. That's why I love Luke. With Ben, I loved the fact that this was a character who very much mirrors his grandfather and goes on a very similar journey.
And Rey was trying to get him.
Trying to be
to
a
the
little
light
bit of
side.
his Luke
Right.
to bring him back.
Yeah.
So when you take the character of Rey and you connect her in that regard, the first thing I have is like, well, who's Palpatine fucking? First of all,
Yeah, Palpatine fucks.
is
What?
his son a clone?
Right.
All of these questions that I'm like, I will give movies I will give them a lot of passes on a lot of things, but for something that pivotal,
Yeah.
to not give me any sort of context as to like the relationship with Palpatine and his son, when, the why, and the how, it was like, okay, well, Rey's a very, very powerful Force user.
Right.
That is like candy for somebody like Palpatine.
Yes.
But like that's not enough for
don't
me.
have to be related.
It's not enough for me to be like, okay, I get it.
Do you think that assigning Rey, who up to this point has been Rey from nowhere, does assigning Rey the name Palpatine take away any power from her as a character? Let's be flat out. She's up to this point. In a lot of ways, people love this character because she is a brand new generation female character that is a role model to young girls. And now we've taken the character and gone, okay, but you're also attached to this male character of the male-oriented franchise for the 9 movies. Does it take power away from her? And I know people are already going, no, Leia doesn't take... No, but Leia's a Skywalker.
Right.
And she is part of that lineage. And so people love Leia, but they're also, let's not kid ourselves, the hero of the original trilogy is Luke, and the hero of the prequels is Anakin. Hero, I should say, like protagonist, main character. It has been mostly a male sort of centric story, and with Force Awakens and Last Jedi, it's shifted to a female character. Does that take away power, or do you feel like the movie justified that connection and then still makes it okay?
I just don't need it. It's not necessary for me.
Yeah.
Rey from nowhere, being someone who was born with the power of the Force and someone who didn't necessarily know that she had something like that and didn't understand what it was, and then found Luke as a mentor to sort of like, as limited as it was in The Last Jedi, it's fine. Like, we don't fucking see Luke do any very minimal training too in between episode 4 and 5. It's fine. It's not a big fucking deal. I like the fact that it was just someone who like didn't know what they were, their potentiality.
Yes.
And it wasn't because of their lineage. It was just because they like
them as a person.
They were growing as a person, and they haven't fully realized who they are.
Right. It's a natural arc of somebody.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a very good lesson to learn when like you hear a story of somebody who made it through adversity and made it through no matter what. Like
And it wasn't because their dad was, you know,
Exactly.
a certain somebody.
Like there's college students who are homeless, but they're still going to school. Like there's all kinds of stories that you hear, and I feel like, to answer your question, Hector, it doesn't take anything away from her as a character. What I think it does is it kind of cheapens the story a little bit.
It makes it smaller.
And it felt like a very soap opera moment to me. Like when I heard that, I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Days of Our Lives kind of situation. It's
You know,
like,
what-
well,
yes.
he's alive, but his brain is transplanted into that woman. I'm just okay,
It's
cool.
and again, it's part of Star Wars. It's that this has been
Yeah.
happening from the beginning.
Right,
There are these
right, right.
revelations that have happened in between episodes. Characters like Obi-Wan saying, you know, I told you the truth from a certain point of view, and you're like, dude, that's such bullshit, buddy. Because you know, Yoda, you could have done this, you could have said that, you could have done this. So for me, the frustration was like, when we got Luke and him being like, well, I knew who you were. And it's like, dude, no, you didn't. Because if you did,
You would have
there
just
would have
said,
been
like,
some,
well, right
and
from
so
nowhere.
and so did Leia. Then those characters it would have been amazing if there was some kind of a hint. And more than just Maz Kanata in The Force Awakens asking Han Solo, who's the girl? And then Han looking and then cutting away. It's like, did Han know? Like, those kinds of things where it's like, some semblance
Those
of
are
like,
those JJ isms that sometimes irritate me.
that it's like, it is mystery box where he goes, I'll figure this out later.
Yeah.
And ultimately the answer to this mystery box is, fine. It's very like, you know, in continuity with the rest of Star Wars. And my feeling is, whoever's decision it was to do that, to bring in Palpatine, to have right at the front Kylo Ren, talk to him, no, what's up? Palpatine be like, she is my granddaughter. And then later, Kylo Ren's like, I know who you are now. I know everything. And Luke doing the same thing. Like, whoever's decision that was, the rest of the filmmakers, the writers, basically the execution of the movie, to me, did like the best they could with that. Specifically with the ending, to how Rey handles it and this decision she makes with her last name. I went, thank you. That's lovely. I love that. I love that.
That final shot of that
Wonderful.
movie asking like,
Yes. Beautiful.
no one's been here in so long. Like, who are you, Rey? What's your last name? And her adopting,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It's not just adopting the name; it's also adopting like the legacy and like what comes with it.
Absolutely.
It's
the movie does have themes of chosen family. Right? Your friends or your chosen
Your family
family.
doesn't define you.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. Could that stuff have been just leaned into a little bit more in 7 and 8? Yes.
Yes.
When we get to Paul Walker's death in Furious 7, it does not.
Spoiler alert.
It does not feel cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, his real life death. It does not feel cheap that movie's all of a sudden be like, all about family. Why? Because the beginning of Fast and Furious,
literally the first scene
it's cheesy and corny, and it's about family. So it
Yeah.
doesn't feel phoned in. It feels earned. And these sort of soap opera revelations and these kinds of themes of like, I've chosen my family, feel a little bit like, I wish you guys have done that a bit more in episode 7 and 8. But the way that the characters were split up in 7 and 8, the way that Poe and Rey didn't even meet until 7,
Episode
the
8.
end of 8, or rather
Yeah.
the end of 8.
Right.
So in the beginning of this one, they have a great relationship, which is
I love that moment.
the
The
three of
banter,
them-
the banter.
like, right off
it was
so
great,
good.
but again, it's like I just wish that they could have just been like, all right, before 2015 and the
Yeah.
first one comes out, we're gonna take 3 years to plan all 3 of these.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
to,
for
to
sure.
just
I mean,
sprinkle
I would equate my like frustration of Rey being a Palpatine sort of the same way that Palpatine creates Anakin through midichlorians. I'm like,
yes, which is like dumb bullshit. You're
Yeah.
watching it in Revenge of the
Yeah.
Sith, and you're like, this is stupid.
yeah,
exactly.
That it didn't need to be
Anakin,
over-explained.
That's a good way-
Anakin could have literally just been a Force user who ends up being like one of the strongest Force users in the galaxy. His son inherits that same ability, and that's why the Emperor wants his son
Just
dead.
like our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Right.
That's right.
Saying
That's right.
the only one
Who could wield the saber made of light is our Lord and Savior
Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
So yeah, I would say that's my biggest frustration of like, man, I think for a certain fan base who has wanted these characters to be so tightly connected, you will probably be satisfied, I imagine.
Yeah.
For someone like me who like, I have no issue with Anakin and Luke being father and son and Leia being the daughter. Like, I don't have any problems with any of that stuff. But it's not something that like I crave.
No.
Rey has to be related to Luke or Obi-Wan
No,
or
man.
Palpatine or blah 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 blah.
No, that to me is
need
not the
that.
strength of Star Wars.
No,
I
because
honestly-
Ben Solo is the connection
Yes,
to
right.
that family.
Done.
Right. And I honestly think it does a disservice to the title of the movie, The Rise of Skywalker, just because it's supposed to be the conclusion. Like, this is wrapping up. You're adopting the name, like, you are still continuing. There's still going to be a Skywalker in this world, and everybody's going to continue talking about Luke, talking about Leia, talking about Han Solo.
Do you think there's going to be a sequel?
Not to this, no.
No.
I don't think there's going to be a sequel to this, given what Disney has said already with their movies moving forward.
Disney Plus shows?
Yeah, maybe Disney Plus shows, but they're already doing a good job with like Star Wars
I
Rebels.
think definitely
Wars.
in within 10 years, no. In 20, possible.
Maybe.
Someone could come in and be like, I have an idea
but
for
the Star
10.
Wars universe will become really different at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're going to see some real different stuff.
I would like the
happening.
Skywalker saga to be done.
Yeah.
But
Me
honestly, if Rian Johnson came out and was like, "Oh, my trilogy is going to be Finn,"
Right.
and he's the lead for 3 movies, I'd be like, "Dope, I'm on board."
And also, given that her lightsaber was yellow, so generally people who have yellow lightsabers are so the color of your lightsaber matters. Long story. Yellow lightsaber means that you are a balanced scholar and fighter.
That's
and
cool.
And educator.
What's purple mean?
Purple
Mace.
Purple means you're a badass motherfucker.
Yep.
Basically, yeah, because Mace is the only person who ever chose it. So, yeah.
And that was the thing about the movies, especially the prequels, that kind of bothered me a little bit. That in the movies they were only blue and green, and bad guys were red.
Yes.
In anything that was expanded, like you had crimson,
Yes.
you had yellow,
There's
you had
white, there's a black
There's
saber,
so many, and that's what I loved about things like Rebels and stuff, because it explored that.
Right.
So seeing at the end of the movie that it was like, I'm not gonna have either of these lightsabers.
Right.
I'm gonna create
Beautiful.
my own future, and I was like,
was
yes.
dope too. With
It was
the
super
spinny
cool.
thing.
It was really cool, and I love the way they honored what had come before by like going back to the homestead and her being like, this is where this belongs.
Yeah.
This is where this legacy
We
belongs.
get the
Exactly.
suns, and BB-8 is mimicking that sort of like shape,
Yeah. It's a
that
beautiful
language.
shot at the end,
all
too.
that, like the very, very, very end is dope.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff where Lando and Chewie and the Falcon and all the like reinforcements showed up, it was cool.
You mean the Avengers Endgame shot?
Yeah.
You turned to me and you were like,
On your left.
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, this is that. And again, it's kind of a bummer that another movie did it better this year, in my
Same
opinion.
studio.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude.
It is a bummer because a lot of this kind of storytelling, a lot of this kind of larger than life hero storytelling, when you get to a level like this, like the part 9 or the end, the end game, a lot of it's gonna have similar shit in it. With the heroes are down in the dumps.
100% expected it in
do you know what I'm
this
saying?
movie,
So
yeah.
it's like it is. I'm watching it and I'm like, this is wonderful. Kind of a bummer that I have seen stuff like this in stories before, but that's just because it's just Star Wars.
Can I
It's
be
just
honest?
good versus evil.
I would have honestly liked more stuff with the ships, because I feel like in Avengers Endgame, the moment when they come out of the portals, it's big, it's bombastic, but then it gets elevated by then seeing the battle.
Oh, totally.
In this, you have all the ships coming in, it's big and bombastic,
again,
and then it kind of
you're
like...
right. But we have to go back to
back to Rey.
And Kylo Ren, which was doing good, important stuff, but it was a lot of like, I'm the Emperor.
Yeah,
and
we're cutting back and forth a lot, and it's like, just focus on one thing for a little bit.
To compare it to Return of the Jedi, my favorite stuff in that movie is I love some Ewok stuff, I love some Jabba stuff, and I especially love Luke versus Vader at the end. Up in the, that's the important shit. Meanwhile, there's a whole battle, and Han Solo's running around doing some dopey shit, and you're like, that's cool, but let's go back to this thing.
That's the important piece.
Yeah, and I feel like this movie kind of knew we got to go back to Rey. We got to go back to Rey. But it's like,
Absolutely.
there's thousands and thousands of ships.
There's people dying.
I want to see some cool. I wanted
right
it
up there.
to keep going to cameo to be like, let me see the characters in live action from Rebels. Let me see the character. Let me see the Mando with Baby Yoda. Just like I'm here too. Just like every single Star Wars character. I really was let's do. If you're gonna do on your left, do on your left, and do it with every facet of the world. Just so that Star Wars fans are like, oh my god, they did a character that nobody else knows about except for me. That would have been cool, but the movie knew they had to go back to which I'm like, this is fine.
It's fine. And I'm okay with that because I feel like we got a pretty good arc with Ben. So I'm just going to call him Ben. He's not
For sure.
Kylo.
He's Ben.
He's Ben
He was
because
redeemed.
I felt
agree.
for him. I felt that it did him justice. The moment where he throws his lightsaber in the ocean, I was like, I mean,
And
Rey
the moment,
killed you.
again, great use of cameo, Harrison Ford, who said, you're strong enough, which is like, that's what he was going to say in Force.
Exactly.
That's what I did love about that moment.
Yeah.
It's Ben Solo reliving that moment, but seeing it through.
Right.
And,
exactly.
and getting the ending of what that would have been, and him realizing man, I fucked up. Like, my dad loves me. And even when he says, he's like, Dad, and he goes, I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was...
You're like, dude, he was going to tell him he loves him.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about Ben. Keep talking about Ben.
No, I was just talking about Ben. I wanted a Prince Zuko arc.
Pretty good.
I mean, not as fleshed out because there wasn't time for it, but it follows sort of the same beats where he had to give up what he previously thought was his life's goal, and then turns out that he is not that person, and it turns out that he wants to go help Rey, and at the end ends up sacrificing his life force to save Rey.
That's why I'm
awesome.
cool with it. That's why I love it.
That's why I'm 100%
because he
in.
was redeemed and like Vader, dead.
Yes, exactly. He redeemed himself, used his very last moments to keep the hope alive, you know, which was great, which was freaking awesome.
Beautiful, yeah.
I think Rey's arc was good, besides the Palpatine moment.
But she had that thrust upon her, and it was a bummer.
It was a bummer.
But it was, like you're saying, everything, all of the story plot points that were part of that, I think that first of all, performance, again, everybody's performances were stellar.
Are no problem.
Stellar.
No problem.
And I think that the character, like all of the decisions that she made and all that kind of action beats that she was in and the times where she thought about, embracing it and not, I thought all of it was fine.
Yeah, I thought all
Well
that
done.
stuff was fine. So I'm happy with her arc. I'm actually pretty happy with Finn, because Finn was actually a pretty key player in this movie, which was really great. He actually met a lady, which was great. That wasn't Rose. I thought she did great as well. Rose is just kind of in and out of stuff, like pulling levers.
But definitely part of the rebellion.
Definitely part of, like, a key member of the rebellion.
I brought this up. A dumb thing that bothers me is Greg Grunberg's character. What a tough name to say. Snap Wexley is easier to say than Greg Grunberg. But Greg Grunberg's character, present, totally fine with that. My frustration was like, he wasn't in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's this dumb thing. Again, if you guys were planning this thing out, and JJ's going, okay, so Snap Wexley, this is what's going to happen. He's kind of in the background. I'm going to get my buddy Greg to do it, and here's where he's going to be. Why wasn't he in Part 8? Was scheduling conflict? And then the Star Wars fan in me is going to go, okay, well, I'm sure that Marvel Comics or Disney Books are going to release something like, here's Snap Wexley's mission during The Last Jedi. And I'll be like, cool, I have my dumb answer. But it's little dumb details like that where I'm like, kind of frustrating. Because he's there like he was there the whole time. And I'm like, motherfucker, they were getting chased down and exploded. The whole episode 8 was just a chase. And then they ended in the Battle of Crate. And where were you, Snap?
Yeah, you were not there.
Ain't so snappy, motherfucker.
Yeah, ain't so snappy.
I think they did a really good job of integrating Princess Leia into this, given their parameters to work with.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff.
There was moments where I'm like, yeah, I could tell this was shot before, or they're just stitching this in.
It's
was there some digital recreation?
Had to have been.
I think there was some body doubles for sure.
Body doubles for sure, and then there's stuff where they literally just like took her face and they changed everything around her hair and her costume, and you obviously have to.
Yeah. So there was
the Leia stuff is interesting because I do think that they did a really great job making it work with how much probably little footage they had.
Right, totally. Exactly.
But in the context of the movie, it feels very like snapped to get like very edited specifically together.
I have a feeling.
And written around.
What was that one line?
But
she
like,
said,
what else are you gonna do?
That one line she said, where it's like, "I wish it would be positive" or whatever.
Yeah.
That line you could tell was written for something else, and that actor did a good job of ad-libbing that. Because it's like, fine, everything will be fine. Like, that was a good way of integrating that. So there was a really smart kind of rewrite of the things that they had pre-recorded.
For sure.
Which I'm okay with because...
because there's no other way to do it.
You have no other way to do it.
And
like, she's going to be there.
I liked how Luke sacrificed himself to save the rebels in The Last Jedi.
Yes.
And I loved how Leia... Just the same. I like them both. I love them both. The way that Leia used her ability to just reach out to Ben one last time, and that's what made Ben be like, "I'm gonna throw away this lightsaber." Like my mom.
I loved it. He let down his guard for that split moment.
Beautiful.
Where
Like,
Rey
well
stabbed
done.
him.
Well done.
You know?
Well
It was
done.
beautiful.
Yes.
It was a great moment.
I am a little bit conflicted about that.
Ooh,
really? Hit me.
Speak your truth.
Because
Speak your truth.
I conceptually love the idea of mother reaching out to son and son letting his guard down and realizing like this is not the right thing that I should be doing. It doesn't 100% work for me, and I can't really pinpoint what it is that they could have done to either do it a little bit better or what they could have done differently.
I can tell you what it is that we didn't spend time building that mother-son relationship.
Could be.
There wasn't a lot of connection, and that goes back to the pacing and the editing of this movie, where moments weren't allowed to breathe. If we had a couple of scenes where Leia reaches out in the same way that Rey reaches out that Kylo reaches out to Rey, and they have those in their mind battles, Leia could have kind of... I don't know how much force it would have taken.
And that's what makes it,
She could have had those moments. They didn't need to be in the same scenes together because we had Rey and Kylo being on different planets and still interacting.
Yeah.
So they could have done something like that, and that's why this moment feels a little bit kind of out of place.
Let me ask you a question. If you watch 7, 8, and 9, do you think that aspect you'll be more satisfied with it? Because in 7, there's a little bit of... go get our son back.
Right.
And in 8, there's a little bit of, I'm going to kill my mom,
Yeah.
I can't kill my mom.
Right.
Like, do you think that boom, boom, boom
I
will work better?
I don't think so, because I'd like to see mother and son talking. Like, they don't actually talk to
They've
each
never
other.
had a conversation.
Yeah, they've never
As
talked
far
to
as
each
I
other.
remember, there's no conversation between those two characters.
Right.
Good point.
Because they need to talk.
We get
to
that
each
with
other.
Harrison Ford and
Yeah.
Adam
Yes, you
Driver.
have
That's why
Yeah.
that moment with
Yeah.
Han Solo really
Yes.
works for me,
Yes,
because I'm like,
exactly.
he's reliving something that actually happened.
Right.
With Leia and Ben. We don't really have that moment.
Right.
And that
We
time,
don't have
that moment.
But
Force
That's
again,
what
Ben!
I also have to remember the fact that like there's nothing they could do about it because
Right.
Yes.
character's just not alive.
Exactly. So
So it's like I have to just accept it that like this is what they were trying to do,
Yes.
and with the parameters that they had, okay,
Right.
they made it work for the
Right.
most part.
agreed, 100%. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys really enjoyed about this?
I mean, I think this movie has a lot of great moments. I think the action sequences, even though they're one after the other, they work really well for me. Like I love the chase on the desert planet.
Yep.
I love the lightsaber battle on Endor, or is that
The Moon of Endor, where the Death Star crashed?
well.
Yeah.
Which one?
Kylo versus Rey.
Wherever the Death Star is, if
The ocean
if
one?
that itself is Endor,
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
But that lightsaber fight,
Yeah,
all
that
that stuff
was
was
dope.
great. I
Yeah.
loved her exploring the Death Star
Yeah, that was
and
great.
going in.
It mirrored her first intro in The Force Awakens, where she was the junk
Scavenger.
Scavenger. She's a scavenger.
Yeah.
One thing I really liked about this movie that got a big cheer was Chewie getting his medal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man, you have to give Chewie his dues.
The movie knew how to do that stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was good.
I also really do like that we give Chewie a moment when after Princess Leia dies.
Oh, he was
that we
anguish.
that we go to Chewie, because Chewie,
destroyed.
aside from the droids, aside from R2 and 3PO, like Chewie has lived with these characters for this entire since the beginning.
And with Han, longer than
Exactly,
the beginning.
exactly. And like he has really lost a lot. And in Force Awakens, we never get to have him and Leia have a moment of like Han has died.
Right.
That's completely skipped on.
So that moment felt like that was JJ correcting a
Yes,
mistake.
yes.
And there were other things throughout that part of me is like, I'm kind of worried that the wrong people are going to consider it a victory. But they were sort of not correcting mistakes, but just further explaining things that happened in 7 and 8. The Holdo maneuver that everybody, or I should say a lot of dumbasses were like, that's so stupid because how come they never did it before? I don't like the fact that it was Holdo that did it. I didn't like that character, without looking at why that character worked the way that she did and how she was sort of designed to make certain people mad on purpose, kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
But the Holdo maneuver that Dominic Monaghan brings up, and somebody, Poe was like, that's a 1 in a million shot, which is like, okay, there you go, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
That's the explanation for
That
why
was a 1 in a
in
million
canon it was never done again. It's either like the explanation can be either the calculation would be that you hit light speed before you hit them or after, or like it's like a 1 in a million shot.
Right.
So that little thing to me felt like there were moments throughout this movie that were like, okay, I wonder, again, people who didn't like The Last Jedi, if they see this movie, will the movie then go, okay, are you happy? Shut the hell up. Now watch 7, 8, and 9 and actually watch them for what they are. Here's your sort of dumb explanations for things that ultimately aren't that important. But here, like, where does Snoke come from? I made Snoke. There you go.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Now go watch those movies and
forget about it.
Yeah,
I
forget
think
about it.
That's what put this movie on the bottom of the tier list for me,
Yeah.
because
It felt like an obligation to
it
have to
felt like an obligation. It feels
Right.
like they were answering everybody on Twitter. It felt like they were answering
Yeah.
everybody in the YouTube comments.
Yeah, I
like,
hate that.
Here it is, guys, and I'm just like, you don't
Yeah.
need to
Just make your movie.
Just make your movie. Don't worry about what people are going to say on Twitter. Just do what you're going to do.
Focus on Rey and push
Right,
forward,
yeah,
but instead
yeah.
this movie did do the major
Right.
regressive thing of Palpatine, and it's like, oh,
Right.
okay,
Right,
sure,
right.
he's been the big bad
Yeah.
the whole time. But
Yeah.
did they do that because they knew they were going to have a redemptive arc with Kylo Ren? And is there any way to have Kylo and Rey have that arc without them teaming up against? And like, I don't know. And they did eliminate Snoke, which I'm happy about. But
Yeah.
now you have no other sort of greater evil for them to.
Right.
I do think that this, even without Palpatine, I think there definitely was a way to do this movie where it's just Kylo and Rey,
Right.
Supreme Leader versus Jedi,
Yeah.
them figuring
Yeah.
out their story together. Because I don't think that, like, yes, Kylo Ren is the main villain, but I also don't think you need someone bigger than Kylo Ren. Like to me,
No,
the
you
Imperial
don't.
or the fleet itself is also a villain in the story.
That's true. The First Order.
Yeah.
Or in this movie, the
final-
Last Order.
the
which
Last
is cool.
Order,
But
yeah.
the First Order. Did they say
The
Final
final-
Order?
I thought it was the Final Order. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
I think
you're
it's
But
right.
in any case, but I think there are other ways that you could create chaos and create opposition,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to necessarily be a character like Palpatine. Like the fleet
Mm-hmm.
itself could be. How did you guys feel about General Hux being the his motivation for
I
why
loved
he
it,
was the
and I
traitor?
loved that he was killed. It was great.
Also, another very
was
soap
such a
opera
fun
moment.
moment.
Yes, it
very
was.
soap opera moment,
I'm
but
the
this one
traitor.
worked a little bit better
Yeah.
because that character has always been a little bit silly anyway.
And they planted
Well,
those
not only
seeds.
that, it's
Yeah.
been there since the beginning.
Right,
Like him
exactly.
and Kylo Ren have
Exactly.
always butted heads.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want you to
You know
win.
what?
I want Kylo Ren to lose. And I was like, yes.
The thing that bugged me, and I love that actor, is Richard E. Grant.
Oh,
He played
yes.
he played the other Imperial guy. The thing that bugged me was that with the moment where he goes and starts talking to the Emperor, and he's like,
Yeah.
"As I have served you in the wars before,"
Yeah, I'm like,
and I'm like, "But I've never seen you though,
Yeah,
dude."
exactly. Where have you been?
What? Ha, out of nowhere. Now they're
Yeah.
gonna do this thing where they're gonna come out with some novel where it's like
Yeah.
in between
The
episodes.
Richard E. Grant character.
Yeah,
And I love
how-
Richard E. Grant.
You know, and that's like, yeah, dude, I'll read that. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will be very cool and
Yeah.
cool. You know, like
And for me, it was only that
Yeah.
moment. Everything
Yes.
else, I'm like,
Yes.
this character's great.
Everything
Agreed,
else worked
agreed.
well, and
Yeah.
I do like the fact
And I'm
he's
happy
like,
for him.
shoot me in the arm, and
Yeah.
then Finn shoots him in the leg. I'm just
Great.
like,
Least
okay,
expected,
cool.
yeah.
It all works
Yeah.
really well.
that was good.
I do feel like we didn't need that extra droid. That little
D.O.?
Yeah.
D.O.
It was just a droid for JJ to voice.
Yeah, it was just.
That's
yeah,
it.
I need to
Little
rewatch it
droid.
again to be like, what does he do?
Yeah, nothing.
Where, like,
He has some
I mean,
information.
he has the
Yeah.
intel. He has the intel of the ship of like what the purpose of the ship was.
Right, that's what
which
it was.
like I get it. Okay, so the character
what
was
I
supposed
wanted?
to take Rey to the Emperor.
sure.
Okay,
You know what I wanted?
But like we
I
could figure
wanted
that out other ways.
C-3PO to have all his memory unlocked instead of be reset again.
Right.
Which I was like, oh, that's kind of frustrating because I wanted a moment at the end where C-3PO is like, Anakin Skywalker made me. Like that moment where he's like, Darth Vader was my designer,
Where he's,
my
like,
creator,
realizing
everything. And it's through
Just hits him all at
C-3PO.
once.
Through C-3PO would have been like as you're following him, he keeps
The Michael
saying,
Pena moment?
Yeah,
It
we're just
could've
like
been Michael Pena in the
like
movie.
he's telling R2D2 like, and then there was the Attack of the Clones, and then the Revenge of the Sith. Like just to just go through every single thing.
And then
I
we
thought-
stumbled upon Master Skywalker.
I thought that would have been great.
That would have been if they had started the movie that way. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But we did that.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
I either thought that he was going to completely lose all of his memories forever, and that was it, and like that
was sad.
that
Good
would have been another final way of like, yes, this is a concluding story. C-3PO, he doesn't have he's not going to have an opportunity like he did on Endor to tell the story of like the Empire versus the you know. But I mean, he gets some semblance of his memory back, so you know it's undone. The other thing, the fact that the other players, like the new characters who
Yes.
helped Finn and the rebels beat the Empire,
Yeah.
or the Resistance beat the First Order, the fact that they were also defective stormtroopers.
That was cool.
I like that.
I did
I like
too.
that a lot.
Yeah.
I thought that was
And
really cool.
To answer the question of would you be interested in seeing more of this? I feel like they definitely lead into Finn is the hero that he is and has been as lucky as he has been because he's force sensitive. And I thought that was beautiful. I wanted some finalization at the end to confirm that, but I like the idea that there was a whole group of stormtroopers, like you were saying, whether it means that kids are specifically chosen because they're force sensitive. That kind of detail isn't super important to me, but just the idea that like there's a whole bunch of stormtroopers, and just like the solo Finn was in Force Awakens, decide not to shoot a bunch of civilians, but they all did it at once. I'm like, that's really cool. So
Yeah.
good little story seed. Would like to see Finn and those characters maybe like just like to see what happens with that. I like that Lando said that line. He was like, well, let's find out. But it does feel a little bit like, you can't
We're not
do it.
going
You
to.
can't do it in this movie. Like,
Yeah,
dude, I don't know when the next
exactly.
time I'm going to see you guys
Yeah,
is
I
going to
know.
be. Like,
This is supposed to be it. Why are you asking this question right
I guess
now?
it's part of the Star Wars machine. Go ask for some books and some comic books or a video game or whatever to kind of go with that story element, which is cool. But I did like that. But I did want a little bit more of something other than just it's a feeling. Like I wanted
Yeah.
Finn to move something or to do
yeah.
some
Or,
cool thing.
or even if they just explain like we poached force sensitive kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if they're brainwashed enough and they never know that, then like you can never develop that. But maybe Finn,
That's a good way to
Finn is one.
suppress-
Finn is one in a million characters who like was able to figure it out that like he has some sort of connection to the
They
Force.
can measure midichlorians, so
I know, right? It's weird. Star Wars has so much dumb shit that it's like the more you world build, the more you'll fall into traps of like, well,
Yeah.
if this thing, then what about this
Yeah,
thing? It's like,
yeah,
fuck,
exactly.
I don't
It's
know.
also and like
much
that
world
that
building.
for example cuts back into the or ties back into like the Emperor basically rejuvenating himself with the essence of Rey and Kylo Ren. Are you sucking midi-chlorians out of them to rejuvenate yourself?
Oh,
Who
yeah,
cares?
I didn't even think about that.
It's like, does that? Do I care? Am I supposed to care? Is that supposed to like?
Matters.
Are you supposed to? Is that your way of telling
That's
me
why
about?
they should have never done Palpatine, because it
Yeah.
opens up that
Right,
old
exactly.
dusty box of Star Wars rules.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you open it up, and now people are going to be like, "See here in this."
Yeah.
Right, and they
It
also
shouldn't matter.
open up the fact of like the pair, and he was like, "This
Yeah.
hasn't been
Two
seen in
makes
centuries
one."
or whatever."
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's kind of an important point.
Mm-hmm.
If like these two get together, what happens? Like, I'm sure it's all in Star Wars Legends or
Yeah.
lore or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, yeah.
But
Probably
for you
not.
just to touch on it like that
Yeah.
and then kill off Kylo, you're just like, we're never gonna flesh this out ever
Mm-hmm.
again. So, what is just a story element you decided to pull?
Yep.
Okay.
Did the ending of Last Jedi, and by ending I mean specifically with the Force-sensitive young kid,
Broom Kid.
Did
Yeah.
you think that in some way was going to be touched on in this movie?
No, I thought that it was
More of a message?
absolutely.
Yeah,
I thought that
yeah.
that whole element of the movie was Rian Johnson and those filmmakers. I saw people online say Star Wars: The Last Jedi is not just like a great Star Wars movie, it's also a conversation about Star Wars. It is that filmmaker being like, here's why I think Star Wars is important, and here's why I think that it should effectively last forever. It's the same as what they did with James Bond and Skyfall, where they have to prove, and it's the same as Spider-Man and Spider-Verse, where that movie is not just a Spider-Man movie, but it's about Spider-Man and everything that means. And the message of that being like, anyone can wear the mask is really a message to fans, message to young kids, boys, girls, anybody, to just be like, this is what Spider-Man could be to you.
Right,
It's not
exactly.
just Peter Parker in this
Right.
one universe and only him. Like, this is it. And so that's
to
to me,
inspire hope.
that's what Star Wars: The Last Jedi
Yeah.
did with that
Really.
whole story element.
I think overall that is the message. At least that's what I got. It's just like, stuff is bad right now, but there will always be hope somewhere. And that's
Yeah.
what this little kid to me meant.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
Even though he has really no clue what's going on, he's too young to even comprehend anything that was going on. He had that little bit of, he's the future.
Yeah,
He's the
I
future.
love it.
So
And this movie has some of that because it does go into, well, let's get into the minutia of Rey and just this character, but I still think that it does have your found family is your family.
right.
We're not alone even when we think we are. We outnumber them, which is a beautiful new addition to the themes of Star Wars. There are more of us than them,
Yeah.
which is a great, beautiful, inspiring thing, especially with the world the
And
way
there
that
are
it is
people,
right now.
and there are people in places you least expect who will
Yeah.
help you.
Beautiful. So like that's where this movie picks up and takes the baton that The Last Jedi had,
Yeah.
like thematically.
Yeah.
But I still think that it stumbles with some of the stuff of, remember Palpatine?
Yeah.
He's the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Ugh."
Yeah, I mean, is that inevitable in this long series
Yeah,
of movies?
I think
though?
I mean,
So-
yeah, because he was
I mean,
he was the villain in the prequels. He's the villain of the original trilogy.
yep.
And he
Makes
ultimately.
sense that-
But again, I think like the reason why we accept it more and it works better for us in the other movies is the seeds are planted very early.
Correct.
In Episode 1,
right.
from the very first fucking moment we see him, he's already Darth Sidious.
Right.
In the original trilogy, the first thing that Tarkin says, like, the Emperor has wiped out the old remnants of the old Republic, and you're like, cool, we're seed planting this like Emperor character.
Right.
And then in Empire, it builds in a little bit more, and then finally in Jedi, we see him, and in this, it's like
7 and 8.
nope,
nothing.
Yep. Emperor. You're like,
Yep.
mm,
7 and 8 is
yeah.
all about Kylo. It's all
Yeah.
about the First Order.
Yeah.
And I was down with it. And then this comes in.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd.
Love the cameos.
Good.
Wedge Antilles
Cameos
was
were
cool.
People cheered.
My favorite though is Rey's moment, and it ties back to the beginning of the movie of like, be with me, be with me, be with me.
Best.
They're not with me. And then at the end, be with me, and then you hear Ewan McGregor
Yep.
as Obi-Wan, Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, Sam Jackson as Mace Windu, Frank Oz as Yoda,
Yoda
Mark
as
Hamill as
Yoda.
Luke,
Yep.
Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano,
Yep.
Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan,
I
and
love
you're
it.
like, dude, this is how you honor
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of these Jedi sacrificed a part of themselves and their lives for the greater good, the greater cause.
Right.
And now all of that force, the thing that binds the galaxy together, that
all
energy, it's all now within her.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she represents all of that.
Yeah,
and I'm
I
like, dude,
agree.
this is amazing.
Yeah.
I am all of the Sith are in me,
Yeah.
and all of the Jedi are in me.
Yeah.
Boom! This is awesome. It was
Pretty
great.
much.
Epic.
It's basically a
That's
big
what
fuck
she
you.
does.
Pretty
That's what she
pretty
does,
much.
A big fuck you to the
And like
Emperor.
that moment to
Yeah.
me was like, damn, this is what like all of this is representing, and how it all just comes together like
Right,
that
right,
was
right.
was amazing.
That
and I
is
love
what
that.
you're
about.
right. That is a good story point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there anything else, you guys?
We got every crevasse, every nook and cranny.
Every
I feel
nook
like
and
there's
cran.
a bigger conversation to have, especially when we watch it in 3D later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think also too, this is a movie that like it's really hard to summarize in one conversation.
No, exactly.
I
This
saw
should
it
be ongoing.
twice.
This
I
should
saw
be
it twice.
Ongoing, yeah.
And
can't wait
even
to see
after
it
the
again.
second time, I'm like, there are little things that I would want to touch on here and there.
Right.
But like right now, my main focus is big picture stuff.
Yes.
Because like you're saying, once you get into like the nook and the crannies and the details and all that little minutia, the conversation about the movie becomes less fun.
Absolutely.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't want to be like critical about like the details. It's the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
The plot, the motivation, the themes, the arcs of the characters. For the most part, I would say like it was all there for me.
Good.
Things I would have removed, Palpatine.
Yeah.
Didn't need it.
Yeah.
Things connections I would have removed, her being his granddaughter. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I like Rey from nowhere just being someone from nowhere, and if it was me and I would have simplified the story, I would have just said her parents knew that she was a very powerful being, so they hid her so she wouldn't
Protect her from
protect her
the
just
First
from
Order.
exactly
Anybody.
Yeah.
exactly
You could do it,
exactly
and she could have still taken the name Skywalker at the
yeah.
end.
Absolutely.
I love that moment so
agree.
much.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to kind of like my final thoughts on it, I think it's a satisfactory ending to not just the second trilogy, but to the saga as a whole.
Agreed.
When I watch it in context of all 9 movies, I think when I get to the end, I will feel satisfied.
I think so too.
Well, that's a further conversation we have to have.
Exactly.
I'm interested.
Maybe I'll revisit the
in
whole
that moment.
all 9 movies when it comes out on Blu-ray.
Thanks, Disney Plus.
Fuck that! I'm gonna get the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
When the whole set comes out, the whole
You
9
think they'll do
episode
all
set.
night? They will, won't they?
Yeah.
Of course they will.
What about a 7, 8, 9 set? I'll get that. But I won't because I need to import 9 from the UK for 3D.
For 3D?
So I have to keep
Yeah.
them all separate.
I'm gonna own 15 copies of all these movies at some point. I'm sure I will.
Yeah, you will.
I would say go watch Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
Really great parallels to
Yeah.
the new Star Wars
Yeah.
movies and the whole saga as a whole. I think that
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that this movie did, you can see in the last episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Even some
Kinda done better.
iconography, like
Yup.
some moments with
And it's
Rey,
cool.
yeah.
Both are cool.
Yeah.
But Avatar did it in like 2005,
2006.
2006,
Or 7.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It started 05?
It started 05, yeah.
Okay.
It's 7.
So
somewhere
I think
around
so.
there, yeah.
And Legend of Korra is dope too. Augustine, final thoughts?
Absolutely. Great movie, great addition, and great conclusion to the Star Wars Skywalker saga. I don't think what else. I don't know what else I could say. I feel like I said it all already.
Boom.
I'd recommend watching it though.
Shakalaka.
If
Yeah.
you're on the fence about it, go watch
We
it.
ruined it, but that's on you.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't have to.
To be completely honest, I'm more now having just kind of like gotten my initial
Yes.
thoughts about it
Let's
out.
go see it again.
Go see it again, but I'm also very curious to see what other people have said.
Yeah, exactly.
Within our
Exactly.
community.
You
You
know,
know.
I'm not. I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know because I know
Yeah,
the internet's
yeah.
going to be hot garbage this weekend.
It
It's going to
will.
be
It will.
it's going to be garbage from people going like, "We were right. Ryan Johnson ruined it and JJ fixed it." And I'm going to be like, "Fuck you." Like, watch these movies, but watch
Last
these
Jedi's
movies.
still better. Last Jedi's still better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
With a bullet. Ba-na-na-na-na-dun, dun,
With a phaser
dun,
blast. You mean.
dun-na-na-na-na-dun. Master Luke. Remember that part?
Probably one of the dopest moments in this sequel trilogy.
So good.
It's great. It's great. Guys, let us know in the comments down below what you thought. Now we can talk about spoilers finally because the movie's officially out. What you thought about Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, the concluding episode of the Skywalker saga. They'll make another one in 15 years, I guarantee it. Let us know in the comments below, and we'll catch you guys in the next review. Bye-bye.